Good morning. My name is Menachem Creditor. I serve as scholar in residence for UJ Federation of New York, and we are live with you, as we are every weekday morning at 9 o'clock, with some Torah, some blessing, some music, and a whole bunch of friends. More and more we are blessed to see each other when we wake up. Good morning, Adrian. Good morning, Jeff. It's good to be together. Hi, Sharon, Francine, Jerry. I gotta say, I have a whole bunch of favorite parts of the day, but this one, wow. Hi, Dale. Hi, Julie. Jerry, it's good to see you. Hi, Stacy. Wow, look at this. Kind of cool. Let's give it a second so everyone can say good morning to each other. Hi, Penny. Wasn't that a great class last night? That was amazing. Hi, Arlene. All right, Donna. Yvette, thanks for tuning in from Florida each day. What a really amazing thing to transcend space and time. It's kind of cool, too. All right, everyone. Let's get started with a little bit of Torah. We've got 52 good friends together on the screen. If only we could be not around a table, kind of having breakfast together, sharing some Torah and some freshly squeezed orange juice. Wouldn't that be nice? One day. All right, everybody. Let's start with the bracha. It is a good moment to take a breath. So I'm going to invite you, wherever you are, just find. Oh my God, I used to live in Berkeley, and now I'm really sounding like us in Berkeley. Find your center, find your core. Take a deep breath, so we can make this blessing as full of spirit as we possibly can. Everybody. Kim, good to see you. Blair, you have a wonderful day too. Eddie, I'm so glad you could use some Berkeley. I find myself inevitably traveling back sometimes in my brain. It is really, really good to be together. And Valerie, yes, thank you for sharing a really great article in the Times, and it is certainly our honor to be a partner with Chazon, who does great work bringing Jewish consciousness to the environmental world and bring the environment back into Jewish consciousness. Thank God. Hi, Stephen. It's good to see you. Hi, David. Let's look at a part of the Torah that. Oh yeah, of course, Patricia. I'd be glad to. I've shared it a few times. I'm glad to share it again. When we're done, I'll place a link at the bottom of the comments, so you can have a video where I've recorded the song. And the translation and transliteration. I'll make sure that you can have that. Thank you for asking. The end of the book of Numbers, which is where we're going to be this coming Shabbat, has two parshiot. We've been talking about them this week, Mattot and Masei. Those are two different Torah portions that we read on one Shabbat, and they conclude the book of Numbers. And when you get to the end of book of Numbers, we've covered literally so much ground. Numbers is in Hebrew Bamidbar, in the desert. And we have been in the wilderness for 40 years. When we end the book, we are on the cusp of entering the land, and when the book of Deuteronomy will begin, Deuteronomy literally means the second telling. That's Moses, retelling the story of everywhere that we've been. And so it's actually the end of the journey that we are reaching this Shabbat, and then we will hear about it again, translated and interpreted through Moses' life experience in the final book that will begin next week. The end of the book of Bamidbar is not, it's not simple, it's not calm, that's not the kind of journey life is, that's not the kind of journey being in the desert for 40 years afforded us. There's a strange section at the end of the portion about a city of refuge. In Hebrew it's called the Ir Miklat. Let's start like this. There were cities and territories to be established through the new land, the promised land, the land of Israel, every tribe having its own specific designated area of the land. But the tribe of Levi, the Levites, would not receive a tract of land. The ritual officiants, the spiritual leadership of the people, would have specific cities established for them, but no right to land, and they would do their holy service work in the center, wherever the temple would be built, and obviously that's Jerusalem. 6 of the cities established for the Levites were going to be called Arei Miklat, cities of refuge. Now, what's a city of refuge? We would have our own justice system. The justice system would adjudicate when something went wrong, and in the case of the loss of life, a court would determine whether or not the action of one person that led to the death of another person would be considered murder or would be considered manslaughter. Remember, I told you this was not a calm end of the book. If the court determined that it was murder, the person would face the consequences for committing murder. If the court, however, determined that it was manslaughter, meaning I caused the death but it was an accident, then that person had the right to go to an Ir Miklat. The person who killed the other person by accident, who committed manslaughter, would have access to an Ir Miklat, a city of refuge. Now, why is it important that they would have a city of refuge? Because God forbid someone kills someone else. Let's say Reuven kills Shimon. Shimon's family would be in such grief and such rage that they would understandably want their own justice upon Reuven, who committed the act. But Reuven didn't mean to commit the act, or at least we don't know yet whether or not he did, and let's presume that it was an accident. He needs somewhere to run. There would be 6 cities established as Arei Miklat, as cities of refuge for Reuven, who accidentally killed Shimon. And that's actually just what I wanted to talk about today. Isn't it strange to think about the Torah's plan for these cities of refuge? Isn't it strange to think about a society that would need such a thing? Except, wouldn't it be stranger if we didn't? Exactly, Laurie. It's like witness protection. Except the difference is witness protection, can be someone who did wrong intentionally is now part of an arrangement. That's the difference between this one, right? This one and that. The Torah doesn't anticipate a perfect world. That's actually the point that I want to say. Linda, yes, absolutely. That is the origin of the notion of a sanctuary city. An Ir Miklat is literally a safe place, untouchable by those who would, on a vigilante level, want to chase after someone else, even someone who did something wrong accidentally. The Torah envisions that we're going to be a messy world and says this is going to be a safe place where people who make mistakes can go. So let's just imagine for a moment, not that we could recreate the Torah's reality, because of course there are also parts of the Torah that we've outgrown as human beings, because the Torah might be a progressive document in its day, but in order to be true to the Torah, We have to make sure that it's not the final word when it comes to moral questions. In order to be Torah true, we have to be true as Torah people to the world in which we live, which sometimes requires developing our own thinking. Looking at the Torah and saying, look at what responses in the Torah there are to other primitive ways of doing things. The Torah itself wants us to continue asking questions to stay on that same trajectory. So let's take that general methodology of bringing the Torah forward, being Torah true by staying on the trajectory, and applying it to questions of justice today. Just imagine what it would look like if, in order to determine what justice is, we also allowed for mistakes, an accident, to be understood as such. The challenge of today's intolerant way, and I mean deep intolerance for people who make mistakes along the way. And I'm not talking about people who intentionally hurt someone else. I'm talking about true accidents, which of course it's hard to know. There's no court for intent. What a complicated question to ask. But when we make a mistake, how much space are we granted to learn from our mistake? Protection from those who are legitimately angry about the mistake that I made. How much space do I have so that I can learn? And one of the things to know is that the Ir Miklat, the city of refuge, the person who goes there, who committed manslaughter, how long were they supposed to stay there? They stay there until the high priest, who's in charge, their tenure is done. And it's an incredible thing. That could be a very long time, which means we have time to learn. A student just a few days ago when we were discussing this said, oh my God, society could use a timeout space. What would the world look like? What would America look like if we had a built-in timeout space for our justice service? The function of justice in society would include within itself rehabilitation or learning time so that we could do better. Because who doesn't make mistakes? In well-intentioned people, even justice activists, make plenty of mistakes because that's what it is to be a human being. The Torah doesn't give us models of perfect people. That's not the gift of the Torah. The gift of the Torah is we are all imperfect, even Moses, even, if you don't mind me saying, God. All through the Torah, all through this book, there have been 7 rebellions. Rebellions as a military ambush from someone else. Rebellions in terms of the jealousy of Moses, of Miriam and Aaron about Moses being so special. The attack of the king Balak, who hires the magician, sorcerer Bilam. Those are all attacks. They're ambushes. Well, what if instead of waiting in ambush for each other, we said, I believe that you probably didn't mean to say that. Now, I know I'm not talking about manslaughter anymore. I'm taking this into a symbolic direction. So I want to ask us to judge each other favorably whenever we can and allow some space for mistakes. And that also means that when we make mistakes, committing ourselves to taking some time away, some time out, to our own safe Ir Miklat, a city of refuge, and trying to learn from the mistake that we made so that we don't hurt anyone. Not the same way, maybe not at all. The book of Numbers has us about ready to enter the promised land. Wouldn't it be powerful to imagine a better version of society, full of better versions of ourselves, because we took the time to reflect on the mistakes we've made, so that we wouldn't make them again, learn from our own history, so that we can be better to each other. And Ir Miklat is a gorgeous idea. It's not that the circumstances are gorgeous. Humanity is messy, and we always have been, and we always will be. We don't have perfect models of people, because there are no perfect models of people. But what if we built a society with enough space for mistake making? That would give us a chance to be better, wouldn't it? Instead of waiting in ambush, excommunicating someone who makes a mistake, we found a way to be patient with each other, to be kinder to each other, so that justice could actually be done without losing each other. Might take some time, but isn't that a dream worth pursuing? All right, everybody. Today's a good day. It's going to be a good day. Let's sing our way right into it. Thanks for a beautiful morning together, everybody. Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Boker Tov. Have a great day.